What is up, guys? It's your boy Saka Panda here, and today we're going to be talking about the man himself, Volt. Now, I don't want you guys to take this too much as I know everything, because I'm going to come out and say right now, I don't know everything when it comes to this game. I'm still very much in the middle of it, but I'm going to be showing you my build for Volt as I like to play him currently and just kind of like go and mess around a little bit with that. So let me get out of capture real fast and I'll show you guys exactly what I mean. So guys, today I'm going to be showing you guys my loadout for Volt, and actually, believe it or not, I did this video about an hour ago and recorded it once already. And then I went to the Void Trader and I picked up exactly the piece that I was missing. So now I'm back to do this video again because I have the piece that I actually needed for Volt. But I felt like it was a good idea to start with Volt as the character I do my first build video for, because he was the first character I had when I got the game. So I don't think it's a far stretch to say, let me show you how I use this man. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to jump in and just say that some of these things is going to seem very confusing, and there's a lot of stuff to keep in mind, and I'm going to try to break it down as best as I can, but still staying in like a normal frame of video length, because I understand that a lot of this stuff is just going to become second nature as you play the game, but hearing about it is going to be kind of confusing. But first we're going to start off with who Volt is. So to know that, we're going to jump right into his abilities. So I'm going to start off with his passive ability, which honestly, shut up, Ordis. Starting off with his passive ability, which pretty much all Warframes have a unique passive to their unit, which is obviously will augment your playstyle, but ground movement generates an electrical charge that is unleashed with the next attack, which is something I'll be showing later on in the video, but just keep in mind that is actually very useful for different weapon loadouts that you may want to use with this character. Now going down his 4 useful abilities, we have Shock, Speed, Electro Shield, and Discharge. Now, I'm going to show these more when I go back into Capture, but for right now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys, just briefly talk about them. Shock, exactly like it sounds, it launches out and shocks enemies and has the ability to do chain damage with enemies that are nearby to your initial target. Speed, you gain a increased movement speed buff for a short duration, which is very useful, especially if you're someone who is likes playing high speed or running around using lots of melee. Electro Shield, which is just as it sounds, it gives you a nice shield, which can be used in a variety of unique ways, but mainly used as a nice obstacle to obstruct blast fire. And Discharge, which will paralyze enemies in a radius, as well as shocking enemies that are in a smaller radius, doing a large amount of damage. So this, for most of it, is your main man, Volt. Volt being one of the starter 3 frames that you can get coming into this game. He is a all-around type of frame. He also, just throwing this out there guys, he also is more heavily utilized for his abilities. Whereas someone like Excalibur, who you can kind of use weapons and not worry about his abilities too much, or like Mag, who you're kind of have a little bit of gunplay, a little bit of weapon, or a little bit of ability play, you can kind of see why his abilities would be spanned quite a bit. Shocking for crowd clearing, Speed for getting around the map faster, Shield, Electric Shield to kind of give you some cover, and then Discharge to take out a large amount of guys quickly. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use him, but for me starting off, he was definitely OP. Now, in terms of the character itself, I'm going to go through the mods, and this is where things will get a little bit confusing. Now, I don't want you guys to look at this and get immediately shocked or immediately like, you know, what the hell is going on, because I know this would get some people a little bit anxious about the game. But I will go like this and just kind of break it down as best I can. So, mainly, and I'm not going to use my main slot for this. Let's take them all off. This is what your mod selection slot looks like for your Warframes. You have 8 base tier mods that you can be socketed on, and then you have an Aura mod and then an Exilus mod at the top. So you can have a total of 10 mods on, and don't worry about these right now. We're not going to go to Arcanas, mainly because I don't have any. Let's start with your Aura mod. Your Aura mod is very useful because overall, your overall mod capacity has to do with your overall rank, and if you have a Orkan reactor attached to your Warframe, which clearly I do. So I have 60 out of 60 right now that I can use to socket and add mods to my characters, which corresponds with the number value next to your mods. Those values will be placed into your overall loadout and will decrease your capacity as they go. However, with an aura in your slot, in which you'll have different types of auras, you can actually socket in here and gain even more mod capacity. So as you can see right now, Volt is connected to, I don't even know what you would call this, but I call it the weird Y symbol of aura mod, where there's different symbols that you can attain. By attaching this, he can get an additional 14 capacity. Whereas if I attach something like Energy Siphon, which is not the same symbol, he would only get an additional 5. Now, this can be changed with Forma, where you can change it to a different symbol, which is something I plan on doing for Energy Siphon, just because how useful it is. But for right now, we're going to do Rifle Amp just to show you what he can do. So going back over, this is pretty much my prime build for the moment, and let me explain why. Rifle Amp just gives me increased rifle damage, which, hey, you can never go wrong with having a primary that hits a little bit harder. But I also go with Rush. Rush is going to give me plus 30% sprint speed, which you can see calculated over here, 1.45, which will just make your character move faster. Now, as a player, this is not your only type of, play style. You can obviously mod it any way that you like. But for me, I enjoy having a speedy playthrough because I'm more of a melee fighter. So sprint speed is very important. So this one is a Exilus mod. You can tell that by the weird little arrows at the top of your mod, which they even have their own little spot for them. And that means that this one can go, which this is going to sound a little weird, these types of mods can go in this spot, but they can also go down below. So let's say if I wanted to take out momentarily that, I can still place this down here just fine, or back up here. Doesn't matter where I place it, it can go in either one. Now, let me get this back on. The difference being said, if I take something like Stretch cannot go there because as you can see, it's not a Exilus mod. It will not allow me to socket it in that location. So go back and add in my 2, that's fine. Now, Rush gives you my movement speed. Now I'm going to jump right ahead to your major 3 mods you'll have right now. And actually, technically, it's going to be major 4 because, like I said, guys, I recorded this video before and then I actually got the mod I was missing. So we're going to do the major 4, which is going to be Streamline, which gives your Warframe increased ability efficiency, which means abilities cost less to actually cast. Flow, which gives you increased max energy, which means you can hold more energy. You don't have to worry about walking by orb drops when they're around and just leaving them by and not collecting them. Intensify, which is your ability strength, gives you plus 30 ability strength. And the one I just picked up, which is Prime Continuity, which is the upgraded version of these. Now, there are Prime versions of all of these, which you can be located at through the Void Trader, by purchasing from him for I forget what it's called, but it's credits and his own like Prime currency. But there is a normal continuity that's a gold just like these, but I got the Prime continuity, which increases ability duration, which is useful for some of his abilities. Now those are like the major 4 that you'll see on a lot of builds. I mean, they're kind of standard, and my goal is to get all the Prime versions of these and to continue on. Other abilities that I've added, because this gives me plus duration, I still have more I can increase this, is Augur Message, which gives me plus 24 ability duration, which is nice because, who doesn't like more duration? Steel Fiber, which gives me some armor, which kind of helps me for damage reduction. Armored Agility, which gives me more sprint speed plus armor, which is nice. And then Stretch, which you guys already saw, is ability range. Now, with all those things in mind, what does it actually do? Gives my character more speed, gives him a little bit more energy, gives him more duration for his abilities that have a duration, like my speed and my electro shield, gives me some more armor so I can take more hits, and that's pretty much it for what I have for him right now. Now, going forward, now it's to load him out with appropriate weapons. So, first things first, I want to keep in mind, guys, what I said about this man's passive ability. His passive ability, if you remember, ground movement speed generates an electrical charge that is unleashed with the next step. So it's a building charge. You have a number value that will climb up, and on the next attack will actually do more damage. Now that will actually change how I load out this character. So first things first, I'm going after things with AoE. So that's my Static Core, which is maxed out, which has an incredible charge AoE. And if I really wanted to, I'm going to place on either a Phantasma, but because I have that rifle mod, I'm going to put on a Sardavar just as something with a little bit of a spray. In terms of melee, honestly, I like fists, but there are also times that I'll use swords or dual axes, whatever I really fancy. But for right now, we're going to go with my fists, just kind of level up a little bit more. But we'll go with these ones just because they have fire. And yeah, that's kind of my base loadout. I'm not going to add in my companion just yet, which is fine. But we're going to go and do a really quick exterminate mission, guys, just so I can show you kind of how a lot of these things will move together and why I enjoy this so much as a build. All right, so we're here. Let's kill some people. So first thing I want to show you guys is I'm going to switch over to my secondary. Because if you notice at the top right hand corner, and I'll try my best to kind of like illuminate that, there's a number that keeps going up. That number keeps increasing as the more I move around. Now, that's that charge that I'm creating, the electrical charge, that on my next attack does a lot of damage. So I think it maxes out at 1,000, which is fine. But the reason why I want AoE is it goes out on your next attack. Now, if your next attack is a single bullet, that's fine. But if your next attack is something with a decent amount of range, well, then now you've opened it up to something completely different. You're now allowing yourself to hit a lot of people with that same charge with one attack. Now, I want to go over his next ability, which is kind of fun, which is his Shock. Shock is as it sounds. Shock's one guy, and it does chain damage and will hit somebody else. That's what just happened. It's a good crowd clearing ability, but it's also just a lot of fun, and you'll find yourself spamming it quite a bit. Things like Intensify in your mod selection will just overall help you keep, there you go, and even ranked up something real quick. Will keep your ability effectiveness up, which will allow you to do that to even more people. Oh, hey, what's up? I'm going to go over my next ability real fast, but I don't even think I can cast it just yet. But I'll show you what I mean about the charge. So now I have about 700 on my charge. Either way, I was going to kill all of them in a shot. But it's the fact that with an AoE, that charge ability gets spread out amongst everybody. So everyone's getting hit by that. So think about how your passive is going to work with units as you're going through. My next ability is going to be Speed on the list, which is just as it sounds, it gives you an incredible movement speed boost, which honestly is something I very much enjoy when I'm doing things like, you know, running around and doing lots of melee damage. It's honestly my favorite thing in the game because I'm more of a Vanguard player who's going to be out in front of a lot of opponents, and I find melee is a good way to kind of rush through a lot of people. Movement speed is definitely useful if you're that kind of player. The next ability I want to show you has a lot of versatility, and you're going to find yourself probably not using it when you first start learning how to play with this frame, but there are some pretty unique uses that I found for it. Now, one of the things I will throw out there is that this ability is probably going to be one of your favorites after a while, and that is my Electro Shield. Now, a normal shield, right? But you can pick up the shield, and it actually does knockback damage. So you can just ragdoll enemies off of ledges and they're gone. Also, as your ability strength increases, you can even do even more damage. One thing I really like to do is I like to pair this with our super speed ability and just kind of use it as a knockback shield. And then when I'm ready, I can place it, and then I'm going after a charge. Now this is a great little thing. This is why I say Volt is such a versatile frame. Is because how he's really going to be utilizing a lot of his abilities overall. He has a sprint ability which can be used in a lot of different types of events, specifically like you know, any type of clearing or extermination events, but also spy events. Now, Volt isn't often someone you'll hear on a lot of people's lists for spy missions, but I will beg to say that he's a good unit for it, just because you get him early on. He's one of the first 3 Warframes you can actually acquire in the game easily, and with that kind of knowledge, it isn't hard to say that, hey, you know, if you're not going to drop money into this game and you're going to grind for everything, you have a frame that's fairly decent at getting you some to going through spy missions. Now, any frame can do any mission, but it's about its ease and how quickly it can get through something. Now, one thing I will note about Volt, however, is that he has an incredibly low armor rating. So he's someone who you probably don't want to put out tanking too much. Like I said, I'm a Vanguard player. I like zipping around for the most part to kill enemies, but as a person, he's probably not the best to do that given his low armor rating. He's going to take hits and they're going to stay with him for quite a bit. So don't get frustrated if he's going down quite a bit. You know, just kind of think of how you can switch up your playstyle with him to make it work best for you. I find because of his increased movement speed, there we go, can't talk today. Because of his increased movement speed, you're going to often find yourself running around the map, so really utilize your second ability to the best that you can, and don't be disheartened if, you know, it's not working. They're like that, see? You know, I was right next to a barrel that exploded and ended up killing myself. Oh god, he's gonna get Now, even though I did get thrown around on a low match, and some of you are probably already writing in the comment sections about how bad I am, just keep in mind one thing, I still have my 4th ability to show y'all. His 4th ability, Discharge, honestly is pretty useful. For the enemies that it doesn't automatically wipe out, it will stun the rest of them, even heavies. The usefulness of that is going to show you that you can go through this, let's just do that real quick. You know, anything that stops enemies from shooting you, especially for a decent duration, is going to be something that you're going to value in this game later on. Especially given his low armor rating, you're going to want something that stops people from shooting at you, and Discharge just you know, does that pretty nicely. One thing I will note though, it does cost quite a bit of energy, so you know, just keep that in mind when casting it. You know, keep an eye on your energy meter, because you know, you'll have a lot of different types of moves you're going to want to use at any one given time, so you know, just keep that in mind. And yeah, but this has been Volt pretty much as a whole. This is kind of how I run him. The only other thing I would add to that is the more speed the better. So sometimes I'll throw on staffs or swords. This is something that with a high movement speed to kind of increase my melee. And I do find that a lot of times for him, something that with a large field is better. So even stuff like doing the plains of Eidolon, or doing Fortuna on what was it, Venus, you know, you're going to give yourself a large amount of area to actually move around to kind of set up better positions. I even will go on record by saying there's another primary loadout which I will give him, and it's definitely geared more to the open world, free roam world, which is going to be snipers. The reason why I say that is my snipers, you know, I've had a couple good mod drops from mobs that I've picked up that are very, very useful. One of them is going to be Charge Chamber, which is plus 40% damage on the first shot magazine. If you guys are curious, I can do another video on weaponed modded slots and kind of how I set them up for the most part. But on top of Serration, which gives you plus 105% damage, and as you guys remember, my rifle amp gives my rifle damage increased by 27% damage, giving him a sniper rifle, especially with a low magazine count like 2, increases the damage, plus gives it even more damage, plus even more damage with elemental damage on top of that. The really nice thing is you can go a decent while away and you're just sniping people and allowing yourself to build up a charge with your attack, because you know, like you said, he does have that charge meter, which gives even bonus damage, he can take down a whole bunch of heavies with that. It's just all about how you play. You gotta remember, kind of set up certain characters to play differently. But this has been Volt. I really enjoy him. He's never let me down in a fight. I think other people might have other things to say, but I've always enjoyed him. If you guys are new to the game, definitely pick him up as a viable option, or not. Go with Excalibur. He's always a crowd favorite, or go with Mag. But yeah, guys, this has been the video, and Tenno, have a good one.